Hello, my friends. I have been way too tired to record the Mindhawk Gauntlet today, so I'm going to continue doing a little bit of that AMA series that I promised I would do that people asked for, and then I proceeded to stop very quickly because I got distracted and forgot. So I'm just going to answer a couple more of your questions, and that's going to be the content for today. Sorry for the cop-out. All right, first question. What is your favorite dipping sauce? Well, that's a weird one to start with. I like smoky but not super sweet barbecue sauce. I don't want the stuff that tastes like it's pure sugar. I want that, like, being able to taste the smoke, being able to taste the spice. That's my favorite. What is your vision for RTS games and similar games in the future? I think that due to technical limitations, RTS is currently stuck in a 1 versus 1 world, but I don't think that that is going to be the long-term solution for it. I feel like the next big competitive RTS that becomes super popular will probably have a focus more on team play. Not because it's necessarily the best for the format, but just that's what succeeds, especially in today's environment. Right now, we're just reaching the point where computers are actually getting the ability to handle maybe 1,000 things on the map at the same time, which is probably what you need to be able to do for large-scale stuff. So that's going to, in my opinion, be one of the things. Also, co-op. Co-op is one of the most played things in Starcraft, and people are just not developing it. When they're looking at coming out with new RTS stuff, it's here's our competitive 1v1 or competitive 2v2, and if you look at the actual Starcraft numbers, it's like 8 to 10 times as many people are playing co-op as are playing 1 versus 1. So I think whoever figures that out creates a really good co-op system that has a lot of constant update, maintenance, and cool things going on, events, that sort of stuff, that are just really fun and awesome, that can then draw people into the 1 versus 1 competitive scene, and that's how you build up that more esporty section that everyone is going after. I think that's what the future of RTS is going to be. As for what genre or whatever, I don't know. Doesn't really matter. Fantasy people like, sci-fi people like. I think that modern is not really something that will go very far, mainly because it's just very difficult to come up with interesting things. In the same way that I think the Age of Empires 4 units are fairly boring, you need something a bit fantastical with RTS to really spark the imagination of a lot of people. What is the most not fun unit in StarCraft 2? Anything with a major splash. I hate Banelings, I hate Widowmines, I hate Disruptors, all equally. The huge focus on blasting armies off of the map in a quarter of a second for those Twitch clips, I much more prefer long drawn-out fights that involve positioning and that sort of thing, constant changes over time, territory, all that kind of stuff. A lot more than just instant explosion GG. What does the StarCraft 1 campaign do better than StarCraft 2? One thing I really like about the StarCraft 1 campaign is how not blatant in their favoritism towards whatever faction is currently being played. I think that's really powerful and important. They introduce and they respect other entities, whether they are allies or enemies, in a way that StarCraft 2 doesn't really do. StarCraft 2 tends to do the person that we currently are is the greatest thing that has ever existed. Anyone who is not on screen doesn't exist. And the enemy is a super uber powerful death machine of doom who is, twisting their mustache. And I don't like that. The fact that it's just factions being factions and they're all treated with fairly similar levels of respect and dignity in StarCraft 1, I like that a lot. I think it makes the universe feel more alive. 40k, yay or nay, and Star Wars, yay or nay. I don't actually know a ton about 40k, but I do not like how the miniatures core of the franchise is super exploitative in terms of cost. They charge absurd amounts of money for plastic, and that greed has really turned me away from the series. I don't like it when people are exclusive with who can play based off of, it's basically a paywall, a huge paywall. For Star Wars, I like Star Wars a lot, particularly the extended universe media. Many of my favorite games are Star Wars, like KOTOR or Empire at War, and the second half of the Clone Wars TV show is absolutely incredible. For the main films, I never actually saw Episode 9 because I just thought it would be bad, and then I heard that it was bad. I'm hoping that Disney learned from their mistake and will be more careful with the content they release in the future, because the non-main movie stuff that has come out in this era has actually been pretty good. Would you rather be rich and have no friends, or be poor and have many friends? I figure that if this is just a starting scenario and then you get to work from there, having friends is way better, because that means that unless it's just like magical attraction or something, it means that you inherently have those social abilities that can then be used to benefit yourself and those around you. So Assuming that you're good at being sociable, which is probably why you have a lot of genuinely good friends, you probably have the skills to make it yourself, as opposed to a rich alone person who is probably just going to spend a lot of their money on things to fill the void in their life, and then they won't be rich nor will they have friends. Use the skills you have. Why did you start streaming? I started streaming because I was looking for story inspiration when I was working as a solo indie dev on a turn-based strategy game called Ascendancy that never released. I wanted to get a better look on how various video games did their storytelling, and I decided that I'd play through some RTS because I really like RTS. I hadn't played Starcraft for a while at that point. I was so busy. I played through some other games, eventually got to Starcraft, and then I kind of just fell in love with it again. I'd played Starcraft for a long time when it had come out, all through Wings, Heart of the Swarm, and then a little after Legacy of the Void came out, I had just gotten so busy. But once I had started streaming again and hit Starcraft 2, I was just like, wow, yeah, this game is great. I'm going to keep doing this for a bit. I didn't really need any of the story stuff anymore. I'd gone through enough of them. I'd figured out what I needed. I don't remember what it was, but I'm sure it was fine. How do I take my coffee? I like either a little bit of cream in it or just black. I don't like sugar in coffee. I think that sugar in drinks, it feels like my teeth are dissolving or something. It's like really gross. I don't know. I brush twice a day and I floss. I don't, it's sugar water. Don't do it. What is the right way to pronounce GIF? It's GIF. Does the person in the middle seat of an airplane get both armrests? There's not a good answer to this right now. However, I believe that airlines should be legally required to give Nintendo Switches to everybody so that they can play Mario Kart, and the winners get the armrests. Why'd you commit to going full-time with such a low subscriber count? It's because subscriber count on YouTube doesn't actually mean anything. The number of views that you get is the determining factor of all of that, and my viewership was more than fine enough. Subscriptions tend to be a factor of how many different games you play. The more games means more different viewers who will subscribe, and then how long your channel has been active. It doesn't really mean anything about how good your channel is or how much money you're earning or any of that kind of stuff. Past the first 1,000, which you need to actually get monetized. Are you confident that you could beat a Starcraft Pro in speedrunning or another challenge? Yeah, I've beaten Probe before, and Probe is a pro. What hardware and software do you use for capturing your voice? I use a Shure SM7B microphone, I use a Go XLR Mini as the DAC, and then I use Audacity. In Audacity, on my voice, I use a normalizer, a compressor, and a limiter. That just guarantees that the peaks and valleys of the audio are fairly consistent. I get the decibel rating of all my audio to -19 decibels. I don't know why. It's just what I do. I just picked a number. And the question also asked if there were any tips, and the main tip I would give is record in a very quiet place so that you don't have to deal with audio leaking in. And then the second most important thing is to just speak confidently. You'd be surprised how much a difference just portraying the idea that you know what you're talking about and speaking confidently about it really makes you more charismatic. It helps a little bit if you actually know what you're talking about as well, but I mean, we've all been to YouTube. It's not necessary. Oh, and it's very important to remember that you're always going to hate what you sound like. It doesn't matter who you are. Even Morgan Freeman probably doesn't like the way that he sounds. What do you think about the prestige system in co-op? I think that it's incredible. So the context behind the prestige system, for those who don't know, is that the co-op people that were in charge of running all of that stuff were leaving the company. They were going to form Frost Giant, and they didn't want to just abandon co-op as where it was. So what they opted to do was create this whole mess of content. It would take a really long time for people to get through, not because they had to, not because it was good for them as Frost Giant developers or anything like that, but just because they wanted that content to exist. They wanted RTS players to have more stuff to do, and I think that's really beautiful. Some of them are good, some of them are bad, but in the end, it was a way to breathe life into a game on its 10th anniversary, and I think that's wonderful. If time and resources weren't a concern, what do I think the #1 priority for making an RTS should be? RTS often has a pretty high barrier to entry where it's very difficult to learn and it's very difficult to play with your friends. So I think that just the ease of bringing new users into the game is the most important part, because people that play RTS tend to adore it. It's just getting people's foot into the door. Right now it has a stigma of being very hard, which partially because it is, but that drives a lot of potential people that would love it away. Obviously you have to make a good game, but right now the biggest, most difficult thing is getting people to try to play it. What are my chances of moving to Europe? Currently I have a lot of things that tie me down to Oregon. I really do like it here in Portland. It's a great place overall. and I have a lot of family and friends here. However, every time I've been to Europe, which is only twice, I've really enjoyed it. Even if it's not moving there, I would at least like to check out more of Central and Eastern Europe. I've only really been to Western Europe. Have I done any professional voice training? I have not. It's one of those things that I'd actually like to do because I think that a lot of my audio creation is very inefficient because I often have to do a bunch of takes to make anything sound good. By the way, I'm not doing any additional takes for this, which is why it doesn't sound nearly as well scripted or processed or anything like that, so what you gonna do? But no, I would like to get some professional training at some point, but COVID has been COVID, and I'm not sure that online for that sort of thing is nearly as useful. Do I lean to the left or to the right? Well, I'm not going to talk about politics here, so I assume you're talking about my scoliosis. Due to the deterioration in my L5-S1 disc, it means that any time that I'm having a lot of problems, the only comfortable way to lean is to the left. Anything that is standing straight up, forward, backwards, or to the right really hurts. Are you ever going to do merch? I didn't think about it until you said this. What even merch would I make? Does anyone actually buy merch? You guys don't want a Giant Rank Games cup, right? No one would buy that. That sounds like a lot of work for very little gain. Unless someone has some hilarious idea for merch or something that it can be like bad puns all the way down, I'd be down for that. Alright, let's finish off with this one because it's so well written. The question is, win lottery, what do? Get a lawyer to be the one that collects, and then put it in a investment account and live off the interest. I'm a pretty cheap person overall. I don't like spending money. The things that I enjoy in life tend to not be that expensive. I don't like big fast cars or whatever. I'd probably get a house because, owning property is pretty cool. But besides that, I would rather I probably wouldn't actually change that many things. I would probably just work off of the idea that I wouldn't have to monetize my content anymore. And I wouldn't have to care about views or anything like that. I'd just be able to create whatever sounds interesting to me at the time. And if it doesn't work, I don't care. Just try the next thing. So I think there would be a lot more freedom, but I wouldn't change that much as a content creator or as a person. I hope. I've never had a lot of money before, but I mean, it sounds like I like to believe that I wouldn't become a bad person. We've seen a lot of people that have, though, in the past, so I don't know, maybe it does corrupt. On that wonderful note, I hope you have a wonderful day. This is the end of this AMA, and I will see you tomorrow with a resumption of the normal schedule. Peace.